ridiculous. Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So, the guy just left helping us. He was going to help us remodel our teeny, tiny, but thoroughly awful little bathroom off our bedroom. It's, been problematic for a really long time, but now the floor is starting to go. So when you walk into the bathroom, it shifts down a little bit as you step in. It's been like that for actually quite a long time, but more and more tile is breaking up now. When you're on the toilet and if you have bare feet, you pick up little pieces of tile. It's not good. And then the light stopped working. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but now it's dark in there too. So it's just, it's a dark, crumbling cave of a bathroom that fortunately...
It's finally just had enough.
Yeah, nobody but my husband ever sees it. When we have parties, it's like, no, you can't go in there. So I'm sorry, you have to wait because you really don't want to. Every now and then somebody goes in there and I feel so guilty because it's awful. But, maybe it's just my husband and I, but is this true of you guys too? You kind of get used to your own awful? Like if I walked into somebody else's house and saw that, I would be horrified. If I walked into a hotel and saw anything like even 1/1000th of a degree like that, I would demand my money back. But here it's my house. It's like, it's gross, but it's my
just
gross.
how it is.
It's my there's bugs crawling out of the drain. Well, it's okay. I'll just put hot water on them and rinse them down before I take a shower. You get used to your own disgusting. So, but the time has come. I mean, because this floor is gonna fall through any minute now, and I don't really want to be getting out of the shower when that happens.
No.
You don't want to be getting out of the shower on a different floor than you started.
I don't want to be calling the EMTs to come rescue me from where I've fallen through the floor wet and naked. So really, just come fix the floor. And while you're at it, fix the shower. And while you're at it, could we get a medicine cabinet that I can actually see myself in? Because right now it hits me right above the eyes. And
oh no, really?
Could we have yeah, I can see the very tippy top of my head in our medicine cabinet mirror. And could we have a little cabinet below the sink to put all the poisonous things that we keep in the bathroom to clean things? So hopefully that will all get done. We have a very nice handyman guy who's going to do it for us and promises us that he knows what to do. So this may be the first in the continuing saga, but theoretically, sometime next week, he's going to start tearing things up. And then I may not be able to work in my little bedroom office.
Now that you've just had
yes.
mere weeks of being able to use the office. And
yes. The timing is not the best, but the summer is when my husband is off. And theoretically, here's the plan, is that I would put him in charge of it.
We all laugh.
But we were picking things out. I'm late getting to the podcast today because we were picking out things on the Home Depot website for us to go buy. And, so it will be interesting. No Bluetooth fans for us, but, a floor is nice and a light is excellent.
Functionality.
Yeah. I think we're going with the vinyl flooring, which would be, I would find alarming in a bathroom that was any bigger, but this thing is so tiny. Whatever you put on the floor, there's so little of it that you can't really see what it is. And if it means the no dirty grout and no crumbling tile, yeah, just slap a tarp down on that floor and glue it down. I'm fine with it. It could not possibly be worse than it is right now. I should put some delightful pictures up on Twitter of my beautiful bathroom.
Please do. We want before and after.
Before and after.
You're going to get the befores. We'll see how the after looks. It's going to be very white. It's like every time there was a color to pick, I'm like, white.
White.
Guys, you don't want, a cork floor, colored floor, or you don't want, I want everything white. Well, the floor will be gray, but it's like, it's a tiny, have I mentioned that it's a tiny space? It's like about the size of my desk. It's small. So you put anything there darker than like a pale gray and it's going to look like a grotto.
Well, that could be stylish.
Yeah, get the onyx. A little black hole will crawl into. Perhaps will disappear. No, it's going to be white. If I want color, I'll put a bath mat down.
Right. You can easily add, in a space that size, you can easily add.
If we hang up 2 colored towels, it's suddenly bursting with color.
You'll have color. Done.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm cautiously optimistic that it will look not awful. And that it also could not look worse than it looks now, because the shower is not attractive at the moment.
Good.
So we shall see.
Well, we will be following along in the days and weeks to come. But for today, we'll get started and say welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Catherine Alecco, and with me today are Terri Morrow.
Hello.
And Nicole Eridix.
Hello.
So today on the podcast, we're going to talk about kids' names on our Friday speed round. We are going to hear an interview with Robert Rummel-Hudson, and we'll do some shameless self-promotion, as we always do. Mm-hmm. But first, when's the last time you beat out another parent in the competitive sport of raising kids? Nicole.
Yes. Well, thank you for humoring me this week and going along with this topic, because I feel like I am losing.
Oh, man.
I am not winning at the sport of parenting. But at the same time, I feel like I'm sticking to my core values and beliefs, and I'm not willing to do what some parents are doing right now. And I thought it would get easier as the kids got older. And I guess maybe with my son, first kid, didn't really know what I was doing, kind of naive and oblivious to all this stuff going on around me. Not so much with the daughter.
Yes. Well, as we discussed last week, it's a little different sometimes.
Yes, the one we talked about last week, she's going into her junior year in high school. This is the year of setting themselves up for university, so they say. Mm. And wow, let me tell you, the parents are just as competitive as the kids.
Yeah. That is not good.
No, it's not good. And especially when, there are parents who are doing some really shady things. And, competition, I don't mind it if it's healthy.
Yeah.
This is so unhealthy. This I'll tell you sort of in a roundabout way what had happened this past week, because
Give us a completely vague example that nobody will be able to recognize.
Completely vague. I'll try and be as vague as possible.
Names have been changed.
Yeah, hopefully certain names do not listen to this podcast.
I think that's a pretty good bet.
So as as we're familiar with, because we've all been or know somebody who's been to post-secondary schools, and your application needs to be a little polished, and
sure.
On top of the grades, they expect a certain amount of community contributions and numerous things just to round you out as a person, right?
Sure.
And kind of so anyway, the grades, that's one thing, but wow, the volunteering and the community service.
Yeah.
So I'm just floored at the extent that people will go to boost this on their application. So my daughter volunteers for a community organization.
Uh-huh.
And she was, and so it's just, the students who are in it, they're the ones that do the volunteer work. The parents, most of us just show up, drop them off, and leave. We don't really.
As it should be, right?
Yeah, yes. As it should be. I mean, give them some independence here. So some parents who are eager to participate and feel like they can't let their child do anything without them. I didn't say that on air. They can sign up to be parent helpers for the organization. So anyway, make a long story short, their sole job is to just basically, provide an extra helping hand at like certain events and functions.
Right.
But for the typical volunteering kind of stuff that these kids do in the community, parents are not supposed to be part of it. Anyway.
Yeah.
My daughter's not volunteering last week. The parent shows up in place of her kid.
Oh, no.
Where's the kid? Well, apparently the kid has some other commitment and can't fulfill her commitment to the hours that she had signed up for. However, this organization, they're pretty good. If you can't make something, you can't make it. You either find a substitute, another, student, or you just reschedule. Like, it's pretty flexible. But this particular parent did not want the daughter or the son to lose the hours. So the parent did the volunteer work.
And the organization said, yeah, we'll pretend you're your kid and sign the timesheet?
Wow. No, because I had something to say about that, didn't I?
Oh, your tires are going to be slashed in the parking lot now, girl. You're asking for it. You wanna get competitive with your kids' hours? It's on, because that is not allowed. I am not going to let and
you
is
get
your daughter
away with
going,
that.
Mom, stop it.
This, what do you call this in sports? I don't know. This is like
illegal substitution.
There you go. That's right.
She is not allowed to do that. And it, and it takes away the kid, because at the end of the year, the kids get an award for the amount of hours that they put in.
Oh yeah, that's
for the
not
community
okay.
service.
Yeah.
And it's, by that person doing that activity for the child, they're taking away, legitimate hours that other kids are working and costing them opportunities.
Yes.
So anyway, that is my whole rant for this week. But since when, does parenting have to be, I feel like I've got to watch out now and keep my eyes open for all this shady, sneaky behavior that's going on around us. So over it.
Yeah, I'm over, when parents think that the rules don't apply to their child. And they step in and, argue about it.
Yes.
That's just the worst. I mean, come on. The rules are there for a reason, and yes, I am a total rule follower. But they're there for a reason, and if you as a parent step in and try to, change things so that just to benefit your own child, like that, what kind of message are you sending? That is just...
I know.
Oh.
And are you going to be as sympathetic when somebody else wants to break the rules, or are you going to be like, well, that's okay for me, but when you go try to change the rules, that hurts my kids, so therefore you better not.
The ones who want the rule to be changed for their own kid certainly don't want it to be changed for anybody else's kid. No way.
No.
Well, and what, my daughter noticed it, and she was the one that came home and told me. And so if I was to say, oh, well, we'll just forget about that and let's not worry about it and let's not make waves. I mean, what does that, what does she learn from that too, right? It's just this whole nasty side of people. I'm just shocked. And you know me, I'm not one to make waves, and I'm not one to I like to be behind the scenes, right? I think we were talking about this a couple weeks ago where I was encouraging my daughter to say something and make changes because I wasn't. But this really boiled my blood because I'm like, this is not right. And I mean, I'm not I get a little, I can bend the rules once in a while, but not to the detriment of other kids and my kid.
Right.
That's where I stop.
Yeah. That's not right. I mean, I could see being the parent who's there helping out because that's what I always did, to be there to keep an eye on my kids. But I don't think I would ever claim to be one of them to try to get credit for something. It's not impossible.
I
might have written a paper here and there.
I get that if you
possibly taken a computerized test.
Beginning to support your child who's there, totally get it.
Yeah.
This is not the way.
Yeah, but as you say, the competitive nature of getting into college, if that is gonna, does that stuff really make a difference? I mean, does not going one day because you're doing something else, Harvard goes, well, that's it, forget it. You skipped one day of volunteering.
Seems a little
trash.
Extreme.
I'm sorry, you have 10 less hours than candidate XYZ, you're not getting in. No,
Yeah.
that's just really a bit extra, as my daughter would say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
that
hard.
just
The
really
parents.
hurt me. I just thought, what? You are an adult, and you're trying to like pull the wool over these people's eyes, and in front of my daughter and another girl. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? They're not going to see that?
Yeah, if you're going to do it in secret.
Exactly.
Don't let the kids see you. That's bad
Exactly.
form. We break the rules in private, y'all.
Don't advertise it, for goodness sake. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my little. Yeah. That was my.
I mean, did they try to say, like, well, we didn't want to leave you in the lurch by not showing up, so I'm here? Or was it just totally like, oh, he can't come, so I came, so he could still get credit for the hours?
Well, see, that's the thing, is that nothing was said. Like, nothing was said to the people that were being volunteered for, like for whatever they were doing volunteering for. Nothing was, I think my daughter got a little bit of a weak explanation as to why the person was there, but my daughter was like, whatever, that's not, you can't do that. So, it was just something that was, meant to be, done under the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really shady. I'm just calling that out right now.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think of competitive parenting, I think about the parents who, when you have a conversation with them, it's always about what outstanding thing their kid has done recently. And, I don't always have things on the same par to talk about, but I also don't want to sit there and hear about how wonderful your kid is. Nice for you. So happy. Can I go now? It's real interesting when you have kids with special needs, because the competition gets different, I think. You get competition on who is the most badass in IEP meetings.
Right.
Oh, well, I one time did this thing. And that's not a competition I want to be involved in. Or you get, I certainly, when I was on email lists early on in parenting, there was, you can't possibly understand this because your life is so easy and my life is so hard. Let me tell you all the hard things about my life. And like, if you were not, at the edge of your wits every second, then clearly you were losing this race of who's parenting harder. It's like, can't some of us just sit here quietly and be generally okay? Is that that's a crime? You know? It's like, you can't be here if you're happy. You can only be here if you're various degrees of miserable. Right. So it's sort of an anti-competition. So
Well, it's a
race to
competition
the bottom.
of who's had it the worst, or the pain Olympics.
Right. And I know when even in like special education, there was this one year where my son was in a class. It was a little ambitious for him. He could do it academically, behaviorally, it was difficult. And some of the other moms just got a bee in their bonnet about him and complained and complained and complained. And one of them said to me, your son doesn't belong in a class with my son. So it's like, amongst all of us with kids with special needs, you are less special. You go someplace else.
Or you're the wrong kind of special or something.
Yes, we're higher functioning over here. You go off with the others. So that just completely smacked me upside the head. I sort of felt like we were all in it together. And isn't this great? Here our kids are all in the same class and they're like, not with that one. No.
Yeah, I think even within groups, like subgroups and specialty groups, there's just competition. Just to, who's got the worst problems? Who's got the, the better this? Who's got the worse that?
And certainly sitting around waiting rooms of therapists, you hear, you haven't tried this thing?
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? I have worked hard and found the way to do things. And if you're not doing it well, you lose. I win.
And that's why I wanted to really talk about this topic, because I think that, this spans all groups of parents and groups of kids. I mean, this just isn't something that is an issue to kids who are applying to university, right?
Right,
This is, even kids with special, like you said, in
Yeah.
groups where there's children with special needs, disabilities, there's some serious competition in those
Yeah.
groups. And
Yeah.
it's not all inspiration and a bed of roses.
Is it just because we get our identities so wrapped up in being parents
Yeah.
that it feels like it feels like a competition. It feels like a thing you're doing, and everybody wants to. If you're putting all your time and your heart and your soul into something, you want to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody wants to do their job and say, "Well, you know, I'm adequate. Things are okay."
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to do great, and the only way you can do great is if your kid is doing great, or if you can show in some way that you are parenting harder than everybody else. I wish our identities weren't so wrapped up in it. I wish mine wasn't, you know? Sometimes I look at myself and I go, what are you doing? Calm down.
I think you're onto something there, that's, you know, behind a lot of this, because, you know, if your whole identity is I'm a parent, then
Yeah.
you want to do it. you get in your head that you can do it. You know, if you're devoting this much of your mental and physical energy to it, then you want to have something to show for it, or
Yeah, I think so. We need ribbons handed out at some point.
And I think it's in all sorts of different areas too. I mean, the other is just kind of reflecting on some other times when I felt extremely inferior and losing at the parenting game. And that's when it comes to food and feeding my kids. Did you guys ever, you know, well, have you tried this, you know, made with spelt flour and oat grain and
Yes.
hemp seeds and blackberries? I'm like, I couldn't keep up. Couldn't do it.
Yes, I would like to hide what we feed our kids, except my son puts it on Facebook every night. I feel the silent judging go on.
Well, you know.
Every now and then somebody posts something about how bad tilapia is and everybody should stop eating it. And I'm like, you know what? We seem to be okay. What does not kill you makes you stronger. That's my philosophy.
We're all still alive over here.
We're going to eat the macaroni and cheese from a box.
I know. When that macaroni and cheese came out, that thing that said that it was like filled with phthalates or something.
Yes.
I literally had just gone to Costco like a few days before and bought about probably 20 bucks.
No.
Oh, you are my people, Catherine.
We're going to be eating. And it wasn't even the Kraft. It was the Annie's, like the high-end stuff, guys.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not throwing it away. That's for sure. We'll eat it.
My daughter, we went out shopping yesterday and she wanted to try the even higher end macaroni and cheese in a box, which was that from Cracker Barrel, where it comes with some like processed cheese sauce thing. It's not even a powder.
Oh, okay.
So she made it last night, and as she was making it, she was like filming it, like videoing it for Instagram or something.
Of course she was.
This like macaroni and cheese, and the whole while I'm just cringing. I'm like, no, don't make that public.
Please don't tell everyone what you're doing. Oh, that's
another
hilarious.
Fail.
Yeah, my kids like to eat ramen noodles too, so there you go. I mean,
okay,
you want to talk about filled with God knows what, but
my husband has a great variety of cream soup based recipes that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And when I'm eating them, I'm thinking probably somebody would be horrified by this, but not me. I'm serving.
Yeah, really,
especially
right?
if
So what do we
someone
do?
else made it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes we cross the finish line first, and other times
Well, I think we just need to change the rules, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly when every time you go on the internet, somebody is judging you for something, it's hard not to feel like it's a competition. And that every day there's a new race.
Mm-hmm. Right, there's a new
thing you're doing
event.
wrong. Oh, were you running in that direction? The race is that way.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Yeah. Oh, you don't have the high-end shoes for that race? Well, let me tell you. You're not wearing Nike?
Ruining your child's feet. How could you?
Exactly. Oh, I don't know.
It's
I'm just
exhausting.
feeling so salty over the whole thing. I need to really... Maybe I'm just too involved.
Could that be us too involved? No, certainly
never.
not. Just the right amount.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should move to our speed round and discuss whether your child has ever accused you of giving him or her the wrong name and wanting to change it. Did your child accuse you of failing at the competition of naming them? How about you, Terri?
Well, I don't know about disliking her name or thinking I failed at naming, but last night at the dinner table, we had this perfectly entertaining and harmless discussion about middle names. Usually we spend our whole dinner table conversation. I read out celebrities' names and my husband tries to guess how old they are, people whose birthday it is. Mm-hmm. But this time we actually had one of those family conversations that you want to have. Everybody's contributing. Everybody's laughing. My daughter said she wondered if someday maybe she could go by her middle name. She said her middle name is Catherine. She said she would like to be Kathy. And I said, sure, you can be Kathy. And I said, well, I'll go by our middle name. And my son said, can I be Dave? Because his middle name is David. So he said, sure, Kathy and Dave. And then my husband and I said our middle names. And so we were talking about, we'll be Liz and Lee and Kathy and Dave. And we'll go on trips. And what could the dog's middle name? This wonderful discussion. So before bedtime, my son asks me, can I go by my middle name on Facebook? And I said, you probably don't want to do that because people won't know who you are. They'll try to friend people. They won't know who you are. People who look for you, they won't know who you are. So he said, okay. This morning I found out my daughter went on and put her middle name on Facebook.
I was wondering what that was about.
She now has her first initial, her middle name, and her last name. And of course, the moment she did this, she's getting all these questions. Who is this person? Why did you change your name? And people are worried. Do you not like your name? Are you having a crisis about your name? Why do you want to change your name? So we had to go on and say, we had this funny discussion at dinner. I thought it would be funny to change my name on Facebook.
Relax, everyone.
Oh, well, it's still me. But the thing with Facebook is, when you change your name, you can't change it again for 60 days.
Oh.
So she's stuck with this impetuous decision for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I did not know that.
By which time everybody will have forgotten what her actual name is.
Right,
probably.
and then they'll be like,
but
who are you again? When she changes it again.
I know. So it's like, apparently she's changed her name for 60 days. I don't know.
Wow.
It was going to be a fun little thing we were going to joke about as a family, but it kind of took a turn.
Oh,
wow.
But I do intend to call my son Dave whenever possible now. Yeah, Dave. Time for dinner.
Well, I found out, and I can't even remember how this came up, but a couple months ago, my daughter said that when she was at the height of her love for High School Musical, she really thought that she would like to be named Gabriella. And, she did not care for the name she has, and Gabriella would be so much better. But she never told me that at the time. So I guess she wasn't all that worked up about it because I never
Did
heard.
she, write that name down a bunch of times just for fun?
She probably did.
Put it on her...
But I wouldn't.
she never told you, so she didn't do anything visual.
Told me. I don't know. She didn't have Facebook at the time, that's for sure. I think she was like 8.
Life was so much easier before there was Facebook, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'm just thinking about if I had Facebook when I was my daughter's age, and if people talked to me the way they talked to her, like friends of my mother's had approached me, I would have been very displeased. I would have blocked people a lot quicker than she does. How about you, Nicole? Do your kids like their names?
That's funny. I've never really asked them. And I meant to before we were going to talk about it today, but it just slipped my mind. But no, they've never really. I think both of them are quite content with their names. I have to say, I wanted to change my name when I was growing up.
I did too.
I mean, I hated my name. My name was just so weird in the town that I lived in. But yeah, neither of my kids.
Huh. So does that mean you win this conversation or you lose this conversation?
Ha! I think I'm winning.
I guess you win at naming.
Yeah.
I don't know. No. Maybe they don't like their names. I'll have to ask them when we finish this, and I'll come back and let you know.
Although I have to say that the name that my daughter took her middle name, which is one that we gave to her. Her first name kind of came with her. We Americanized it, but so maybe that means she's choosing the name I gave her.
There you go.
There you go.
Rashly and impetuously. She will not hate it from now on.
Because she's stuck with it.
Yeah.
60 days, she's stuck with it. Let this be a lesson to you. Everybody tell your teenager, if you change your name on Facebook,
Be
That's
prepared
it.
to
you have
live
to
with
stick with it for 2 months.
The consequences.
And apparently there is some cutoff after which you can't change it anymore at all. You're just stuck with it.
Oh, wow.
So Facebook does not want people playing fast and loose with their names, apparently.
Wow.
Which I kind of get. You know?
Yeah. Well, I know changing the name of a page is a big deal.
Yeah.
But I would think that you would be able to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. But apparently not.
Right. But they don't want people impersonating other people or...
Now I'm curious. I want to know what my kids think. I'm going to text my daughter right now. I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? Actually, I'll get back to you in a couple of minutes. Hang on, I'm going to find out.
Well, close us out of the speed round, Catherine. We'll have our interview with Rob, and then when we come back, Nicole will have an answer for us.
Yes, we'll find out. So that will be it temporarily for the speed round. Remember that you can hear a new one every Monday through Thursday, as well as the continuation to this one. Stay tuned.
Yes. This week, we have our monthly interview with Robert Rummel-Hudson, the author of Schuyler's Monster and a blogger at Support for Special Needs. Rob and I had an unusually upbeat conversation this time, so unlike our usual depressing talks. So let's listen to that now. So Schuyler's had her first summer work experience this year. That the internship actually worked out after all, huh?
Yeah, it did.
Yay.
You know, and it's funny because I think it's easy to get down on institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And this was
yeah.
a case where that was definitely, you know, there was a temptation there.
Yeah.
Because it felt like once, when we started trying to get this internship going,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like the institutions involved, the companies that were involved, and the workforce distribution people and all of it.
Yeah.
It felt very amateur hour, and it felt like it just, things were supposed to happen and they didn't happen this way. And it was early on, it was a little discouraging.
Uh-huh.
Last time we talked, I was ready.
Yeah.
We'll just go sit by the pool or something.
Yeah.
But the thing is, then you start to meet the people who are actually involved in it.
Uh-huh.
And you realize that people are enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And people want to do great things.
Uh-huh.
And once I started to meet the people who were actually, inspired by this program that they're trying to get off the ground,
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I feel like the Grinch. My heart grew 3 times that day, because all of a sudden I was like, all right, the failures don't matter so much
Mm-hmm.
now that I see how hard people are trying to get it in place. So
Nice.
it was a little late getting off the ground, but because the individuals who
Uh-huh.
were working were committed and were kind of inspired by what they were trying to do,
Yeah.
all these little workarounds started to present themselves.
Oh, great.
And she ended up, she didn't have a coach, which
Mm-hmm.
was a big part of the thing. There was supposed to be someone who was there to kind of coach them along. But
Yeah.
it turned out she didn't really need one.
Uh-huh.
The manager at the store where she ended up working was just tickled to death to have her and there was another young lady there working
Uh-huh.
with a completely different kind of disability. So they were interesting.
Yeah.
They've actually become friends and have started hanging out. So, but that you had this manager, this store manager, who was really committed. And so all the little rules that were in place, suddenly it was like, well, we can't make these rules work, so let's just kind of do our own thing.
Oh, how great.
When that happened, suddenly stuff started to work and stuff started to happen.
Yeah.
So I think for Schuyler, I can sit here and give you my old grouch impression of what wasn't great. And there were some things that, honestly, could be better and hopefully will be better next time.
Uh-huh.
But I think if you were to ask Schuyler, I think she would just tell you that she had a great summer.
Aw, that's wonderful.
She was really enthusiastic about it. She actually had to quit a week early because summer band percussion
Oh,
camp
yes.
extravaganza started this week. So,
That's important.
and there's no missing that. That's
Yeah, we've been there.
Although I'm going to pull her out for 2 days to do speeches because
Okay.
I used to ask permission. Now I'm just like, yeah, she's not going to be Whatever you got to do to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she had to leave early, and they were genuinely sorry to see her go.
Ah.
And she made some connections there. And I think that if this program continues, or if this program has some during the year options, certainly in summer, I think she's got a place that's ready to have her back.
Oh, that's great.
And I feel like I want to say the name of the company. She was actually working at CBS. I think it's important to actually acknowledge the companies who are making or participating in these programs.
That's great.
So, you know, CBS.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so nice to have a receptive manager and organization. I know my daughter's had a couple of situations where the people she was working for felt she needed a job coach, but really all she needed was somebody who would manage her. You know, she needed a manager, but nobody wanted to do it because they felt it would be mean to tell her she was doing stuff wrong. But, you know, so instead they just let her go. And it's like, well, how is that not meaner?
Yeah.
You know, you want people to be respectful of your kid and sympathetic to their disabilities. But at the same time, you know, if they're doing something wrong, tell them, hey, do it this way. It's not that hard. You don't need a special bureaucracy to do that. You just have to feel like, I'm glad this person is here. I want it to work out. So that's wonderful that she had that experience.
And I have to say, I mean, it was hit and miss, like it always is in situations like
Sure.
this. I mean, the store manager was all on board and was super enthusiastic. At the same time, there were employees there who, you know, probably didn't even know her name.
Yeah.
There was an assistant manager who, you know, didn't know about what to do with her and her iPad.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't have that out here.
Uh-oh.
And it wasn't because he was a bad person or whatever. It's just that, you know, the program hadn't trained everybody who was there.
Yeah.
So the level of participation was either like 2 or 10. You know.
Yeah.
I remember I went to pick her up one day, and I asked where she was, and the person behind the counter looked at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my.
So it wasn't. And the other thing, I guess we're getting into the grouchy.
Yeah, we always seem to get there.
It was coming. Everyone was coming. If there were some things that I would like to have seen done a little bit better, one would have been a more comprehensive training for all the staff.
Oh, sure.
In a long-term employment situation, that's got to be in place. Everyone on a team has to be involved. They have to be trained. Mm-hmm. I think this is why a lot of companies don't embrace many people into their employment world. Because you can't do a lot of the assumptions that you make about, here's this new person I'm working with. You can't necessarily make those assumptions. So
right.
I would have liked to have seen a more comprehensive training for the entire staff.
Uh-huh.
I do feel like early on, like literally in the first few days, Schuyler was given some opportunities to do some really kind of exciting things. We even checked out customers.
Yeah.
So even now, I'm trying to imagine how that went down. But to see what that interaction looks like. Yeah. And apparently she did a great job. And then for the next 4 weeks, she cleaned and put away makeup. And I'm not belittling that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if I could get her to clean and put up her makeup. oh my God. What a life-changing experience that would be. But the breadth of her experience in that workplace maybe wasn't as broad as I would have liked it.
Yes.
And the fact that, I love the fact that these companies participate, but the kids are still they're not getting paid by these companies. They're getting paid, the organization that puts all this together. Right. Yeah. So I'm not sure that the companies themselves feel as invested in the process and the situation. I think if CBS had been paying Schuyler, I imagine that they would have tried to, get a little more work out of her and get a little broader amount, kind of work out of her.
Yeah.
They would feel more invested in.
And it may be the sort of thing where the other employees don't feel that they particularly need to acknowledge these people who are coming in from someplace else. I've noticed that in these summer programs, because my kids both went through those same sort of summer programs. And I know there was one place where the people who were actually employees of the place were kind of snippy. And I figured it might be because, oh, well, you bring these people in from someplace else and we're supposed to work with them, but they're not really, of us. So.
Yeah, and then that was definitely a situation. Even her name tag was different. I
That seems unnecessary.
With a little CVS name tag. Instead, she came in with this Texas workforce.
Oh man, that is unfortunate. Yeah,
that's that's kind of identifying her from the very onset, even someone coming in.
Yeah.
And I understand why that's the case. I understand that maybe they do want customers. If this had been a high volume store, which
right,
very much was not. It's one of those stores you go in and it's nice and quiet here. I have no idea how they say this. So she didn't have, there was not a lot of customer interaction anyway.
Yeah.
But I understand why they want to, if there were a lot of customers coming in and making demands, they want to see this name tag that says, I'm part of blah, blah, blah. But, so it ended up being a good experience for her, but because of these little separations, I'm not sure that it was the entirely inclusive environment that I would like to have seen.
Yeah.
And some of the things that she did learn, besides, how to clean and put away makeup, was, the money side of it, that was very new for her.
Yeah.
And that's the part that has really kind of sparked her. She's filling out time cards.
Yeah.
And she got to what looks to her like an ATM card. It's not, money cards in our program.
Right.
Which we keep discovering doesn't work at all.
Oh.
In all situations.
So they paid her with a card instead of like direct deposit or something?
Yeah. So the card itself, it's like one of those little temporary. It's one of those cards that it feels to her very much like an ATM card. But it's a little bit different. And the difference is sometimes but she's very invested, and suddenly we go places and we did this over the weekend. She needed some new sandals. Because of course she did. Old ones were, months old. Oh.
Yes.
And we went and bought shoes, and she bought shoes with her card.
That is very cool.
It's a little thing.
Yes.
And yet, when she's standing there, and the person tells her how much it is, and she swipes her card, and the little thing comes up and says approved, and the person behind the counter puts her receipt in the bag, and thank you, have a nice day, and Schuyler is participating in the world.
Yeah. That is very cool.
Not a small thing.
That is correct.
And I'm sitting there watching a 17-year-old buy a pair of shoes. And why is it not a thing to get misty-eyed about? But it kind of was, too.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Watching Schuyler participate in the world, that's the kind of thing that we've been talking about since the day she was diagnosed.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, next week will be 14 years.
Wow.
14 years we've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now she's in a position where we can kind of see what that would look like.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a totally inclusive environment, and it wasn't 100% success, but the parts that worked, oh my God.
Yeah.
And that has made an impression on her. And Schuyler is 17. She's way too cool to be impressed by anything. But she's impressed with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was texting me earlier today about asking questions about how her card works. So I think she was.
Can she use it online? Because if so, you're in trouble.
Oh, we're not going to find that out. Experiment with that. No, maybe she can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I know we usually come to these things and these podcasts, I'm like, here's why this didn't work. And there, a lot of this didn't work as well as hoped, but man, the parts that did, it was encouraging.
That is awesome.
And what I'm hoping can happen is that the hopes we can continue something like this through the year.
Yeah,
maybe she can work on weekends. Maybe she can do. I don't know what their program looks like. Of course, all my emails, it takes a week and a half. But this was a hopeful. It wasn't monumental, and yet, you look at those incremental moves. does the piece get moved 4 spaces ahead and everyone's like, oh my God, look at all the big change? Or does the piece scooch forward a little bit? And then I think we move the piece forward a square or two.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, take anything you can get, man.
Yeah.
If it's forward, that's a good thing.
So now we're feeling hopeful, and in 3 weeks, school starts. So.
Well, that'll be about the time we'll be talking to you again. So
Yeah.
after you got that first week under your belt there and have many good and optimistic things to say, we will hold good thoughts. This has been your rare, happy interview.
Yeah, it feels like full speed ahead. And if there's rocks, I guess we'll find them.
Yeah.
We'll find them the fast way.
I'm very glad to hear that all worked out, and I look forward to hearing how the school year starts. We'll talk to you in about a month.
All righty, thank you.
Bye. Is she texting you back, Nicole?
She is. And,
Good.
oh, I just got an answer. I like it and I wouldn't change it. There you go.
Oh.
So,
Winner.
now I can't ask my son because he's at work.
Clearly you won this one.
And now I want a ribbon so I can put in my resume. My application.
Well, now that you have shamelessly bragged about it, I mean, we don't see the text message. You have to send us like an image of the text message to prove it. But in the meantime, let's have some other shameless self-promotion.
Sounds good. So, for our final segment today, we're going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some of the things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Terri, what have you got for us?
Well, last week I talked about a post I wrote for the Friendship Circle blog on putting together an information packet for teachers. And this week I followed up on that with some other things you can do now during the summer to get kind of a running start on your back-to-school advocacy. Things like looking through the IEP, circling all the things that are supposed to be in place at the beginning of the new school year, and then calling the special ed office on a daily basis to make sure that those things are going to be there. Something that I have personally done. It's been a delightful summer calling them every morning. And a few other suggestions. So you can find that on the Friendship Circle blog. We'll have a link to it in the show notes.
Great. Catherine, what have you got for us?
Well, I just wanted to follow up on, I mentioned that I had taken a class on writing for children, writing children's books. So I now have a couple of drafts that are ready to go. So I can't actually promote them. I am promoting them for any, agents or publishers who are listening. So if that's you and you're interested, you can find me easily. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. And now I got to work on trying to get them in the hands of the right people.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good luck.
Thank you.
And, I haven't written anything in a while.
So you're losing this conversation.
I am losing at the writing conversation. So just go check out my Twitter, actually. I'm just going to promote my Twitter because I seem to be able
Which one?
Oh, that's a good one. Let's say my personal one, Nicole Eridix.
Okay.
Because my plan is to start putting more stuff up there. Actually, I'm tweeting. I'm also, as I text my daughter, I'm also tweeting at Nike right now. Because I've got a rant about them. And I'll have to save that for later, I guess. So go check out at Nicole Eridix.
All righty. We're always up for a good rant.
And have a look at my tweet about Nike and retweet it for me, please. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that's a winning strategy. Okay, well, that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you will join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download them from Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe so you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Momitude, Nicole is at Nicole Eridix, and Catherine is at C. Haleko. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Moran for providing our in and out music, and I wish everybody a great week.